Breakfast with Stephen and Ellie. It's 8:36. We're on your TV, your radio, and online, as my director keeps telling me to say.
Yes. Let's take a look at today's front pages for you. Let's start with the Express. Rishi Sunak has vowed to kick foreign lawbreakers out of the country if he becomes Prime Minister.
Mail focusing on the closure of the Tavistock Gender Identity Clinic after a review found it failed vulnerable children.
The Mirror decrees the profits of misery as Britain's energy firms make massive profits on the back of the energy crisis. British gas owner Centrica and Shell have made almost £11 billion in just 6 months.
The Guardian follows that as well. It says the profit surge insults working people.
The Eye says the Conservative leadership contest has led to a cabinet leak inquiry. Ministers worry they can no longer hold frank discussions in case talks are weaponised in the battles to succeed Boris.
OK, let's see what author and academic Joanna Williams and Benjamin Butterworth from the Eye newspaper make of all of this sort of stuff. Good to see you both this morning. Where's my list? Benjamin, let's start with you and the Sun. Should we be looking at the energy crisis?
Yeah, so everyone will be more than feeling the pinch, right, of a 50% rise in the energy caps. But what's shocking is that Centrica and Shell, the two big companies, Centrica, which owns, most of us would think of as British Gas, has had a 5-fold increase in their profits to well over £1 billion. And Shell has made a profit in the last 3 months of £9.4 billion. That's a profit, not a turnover.
So how is this? On what have they made the profit? Because can it just be? I mean, this shouldn't happen. So if I can get my words out, our unit price has gone up. So we're told, because their base unit price has gone up. Therefore, their profits shouldn't technically increase.
Exactly, and I feel very naive because the whole time I thought the price rise was simply because of the supply side issues. Clearly something's changed. Now, we know that lots of smaller companies have gone under because they weren't able to make a profit, so maybe part of it is that they've had an increase in customers and each customer is profitable. You'd imagine that's a part of it, but I've got a feeling it's not £9.5 billion in 3 months of new customers. And the guy that runs it, Ben van Beurden, who is moving from Holland to London because Shell has moved its headquarters here, he takes £7.5 million a year. He's getting a £6 million bonus because of the performance over the last couple of months. And here's the thing, while most people are struggling to afford it, lots of people literally can't afford their bills, including, chances are, people that work for Shell, given how extreme the rises are. Meanwhile, there's £6.5 billion dividends going to their shareholders. Now, I have no problem with people making money, and I don't think you should tax people just for the sake of it. But that is obscene. When people can't put their heating on, the basics of running their lives, and then they're taking all that money, I think someone has to step in and say, at least for this coming year when it's so bad, that you should take some of that money off them and make sure that people can afford it.
I mean, it's incredible to look at the scale of the profits that are being made here off the back of the misery, really, of ordinary people who can't heat their homes. I mean, I agree with Benjamin. Very few people have got a problem with profit as an end in itself. The problem comes when the profit actually doesn't come with a better quality service, doesn't come with cheaper fuel for the rest of us. There's no knock-on impact that we're seeing, the general public is seeing, where we're seeing benefits that might justify these profits. In fact, exactly the opposite. I mean, the story I was interested in is on the front page of the Financial Times today, and it's talking about West London. There actually being a ban on building new houses there until 2035 because there's not the electricity capacity to be able to connect those new houses or buildings up to the national grid. Now this just beggars belief. We've got a housing crisis in this country as well as all the other different crises that we're facing. It's recognised that we actually need more housing in London, and for the electricity companies not to have had the foresight, not to have planned. I mean, it's very predictable that we need new houses. We've been banging on about this for years. It's predictable that people are flocking to the southeast because that's where the jobs are, and if people want to make a living, they're having to come to the areas where the jobs are. So, and one of the reasons they're saying in the Financial Times this morning for the problem with the electricity in that part of the country is that a number of data centres have been built to fuel online activity. go a little bit out of my depth with this one, but it says these data centres have been built to take advantage of fibre optic cables, and each one uses the equivalent amount of electricity as a small town, as a town basically, or small city. So they've built a number of these data centres absorbing all the electricity, and they've not made enough. So basically the point is they're making huge profits, we're all paying an absolute fortune, and the service is rubbish.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd describe the service as being rubbish for a lot of these places. To be honest, I wonder if that's a little bit unfair. But I would say there's got to be an answer. We heard the other day that some supermarkets are looking at reducing prices just to try and help punters. Get them through the doors and make the shop a little bit easier. I mean, the energy companies, if this is as black and white as it seems, have got to do the same.
Yeah, I mean, supermarkets make huge profits, and I think it's Tesco that has introduced a £5 feed your family for £5 offer, and they're, thanks to Jack Monroe, the food campaigner, some of these places are not increasing the prices of their basic foods. So if supermarkets can do that because they make great profits, so they're doing the decent thing, then why is there the excuse for energy firms to make this? And actually, on the front page of the Financial Times, I was absolutely incensed because it has the boss of Centrica, the British gas company, saying we need more state support to help people pay their energy bills. No, we don't need more of our taxpayers' money to go round in a circle on this. Why don't you put away some of your billions of pounds of profit and give that back? Why should effectively asking for taxpayer subsidies while they take billions?
It's the old CSR thing, the corporate and social responsibility, which they're meant to be engaged in, these big companies. But anyway, hopefully we'll get some answers on that. In the meantime, we're going to get some answers at noon when it comes to the Sun and the Agatha Christie trial.
So this kept us hooked, didn't it, earlier this year, and we've had a long wait before the trial. I mean, clearly, one of the ironies in all of this is that the whole trial was about who was leaking what to the press, and the judges decided that the pair of them can't be trusted not to leak the result in advance. So the result's been tightly sealed and will be released online to the entire world at 12 noon, so they won't get any sneak previews of it before we all get to hear about it as well.
Would they normally get a sneak preview of it?
I think you do. I think I'm no legal expert, but I think it would be quite normal to tell the people who were involved in the trial the judgment first, and then it's up to them the extent to which they go public with what that verdict was. I might be very wrong on that, but that's the fact that this is being hyped up as a front page news story, saying it's got the treatment to be released online at midday. I think does suggest there's something a little bit different going on in this case. As you pointed out, I heard in your preview to this story earlier, I mean, it's not been the most edifying thing. Lots of people have been saying that it shouldn't have been brought to court. There's also been a lot of snobbery in the way the two women have been discussed, which I have to say, I'm sure they're nice people, really. And I'd like to go for a drink with Colleen. I think she'd be a good laugh. I'd go for a drink with
it's
her.
It's the old airing your dirty laundry in public sort of thing, isn't it?
It is fascinating though, because I was there every single day of the High Court trial, the whole civil trial.
You weren't working, were you? You just couldn't.
I didn't feel like work, let me tell you. It was fascinating, but it's the way that the tabloid press in this country especially just pit women against each other. I mean, it even came down to, during that 2-week, the hearing, the fashion choices that they were wearing. And Rebecca Vardy was in high fashion, she was in Chanel suits. That made her kind of unappealing to people and it made her look stuck up. Colleen was branded as relatable because she wore Zara and she was re-wearing outfits. And it very much looked like sitting there. Rebecca Vardy, I think, was enjoying the media attention, the press attention. Colleen Rooney looked like she'd rather be anywhere else. And I think that's what you're just saying there, that many people felt like they wanted to go for a drink with her. She felt like a bit more of the people's wag, if that's
I've probably been played.
I mean, I'm Team Rooney. I have been all the way through. But, it's no wonder that the judge didn't want to let them have the result. And you'd imagine in a high-profile case like this, they probably would let them prepare their statements and things in advance, which would seem decent. But in today's Sun, a source close to Colleen Rooney, which is always a suspicious claim. I have no idea if it's really Colleen Rooney, but that's usually what these things mean. says that, well, I've won regardless of what the result is. I've got the moral victory. So of course they were going to leak it if they'd got it in advance, given that they've already got their lines in today's newspapers anyway.
I think it shows just how little the judge actually trusts either of these women, and it was quite clear sitting there that she didn't think much of either of them. She didn't even want to be sat there in the first place. She asked the two women to settle out of court several times. It didn't happen. She thought it was a complete waste of court
But in a way,
time.
that's kind of a bit interesting as well, isn't it? Because it's not her position to be passing judgment on the women. I mean, her role should have been to be passing judgment on what they were saying, the facts of the case. And this is what I mean about the kind of the snobbery and the treating this as a bit different to other cases. You know, I'm sure you're absolutely right in what you're saying, but it does make me feel a bit uncomfortable. You know, she shouldn't have been passing judgment on the women themselves.
I think she's entitled to pass judgment on court time, isn't she? If she thinks, you know, this shouldn't necessarily been brought, really. It's that sort of thing. But I mean, we're very unlikely to get any personal comment from the judge after this, are we? He'll keep stum, quite rightly so. Look, thank you both very much indeed. It's been good to see you this morning. Joanna?
Really good.
Benjamin?
Thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll see you next time, whenever that may be. Not long, I imagine.